Swedish Terapeut here. Yes, this is Swedish Terapeut. And I have safety gear on. And these goggles are getting a little steamy. I'm sure that there's a trick out there. And all those scientists that wear safety goggles, they know how to get this from being so steamy. But so why do I have safety gear on? Because when we're running experiments, we need to have safety gear. So come with me. Let's find out why we need safety gear when we're talking about my mom. Makes sense to me. Let's see if I can share the idea so that maybe it makes sense to you. Because, dear young people and common folk, this is more sciencey, but it's equally important for us to discuss, because when we were ending this segment, experiments require safety gear, and we were going to go into part 2, we started talking about, well, how do we test BodySense? Because we have doctors for eyes, and we have doctors for ears, and we have doctors for probably taste as well, I'm sure. We have a doctor for nose, ear, nose, and throat. But how do we evaluate BodySense? And when I was little, I went to the doctor, and there was one of those little hammers, and they hit my knee. And so we saw a reflex, which is involuntary. Well, if our reflexes aren't working, something's seriously wrong with the nervous system, right? Okay. So because our nervous system and because our perception system is helping to keep us safe. So in this particular article, this is a very sciencey article, but I'm just going to point out the abstract. The 3 sensory systems that they're talking about in this article are smell, taste, and somatosensation. And somata is a fancy word for body. So body sensation. And they're dedicated to detecting the chemicals in the environment so that we stay safe. So this is also including our skin. And if we remember what Dr. Antonio Stecco from Italy, who's now working in New York and doing research there, what he talked about was having the first skin, and then a second skin, and then a third skin. So it's an easier way to say that there's 3 different skins. We'll just keep things simple. The other thing that I would like to keep simple is this olfaction, smell, taste in the mouth, and then somatosensation. The neurons that enable us to detect this wide range of stimuli, which includes Truk, pressure. Would that be something like biotensegrity? Temperature and chemical irritants, and they're within the oral and nasal mucosa. So if those 3 systems have mucous membranes that have those neurons in them, it would be very odd to believe that our other mucous membranes throughout our whole body, outside of our mouth and our nose, don't have those same kind of sensory neurons. There's a lot of people doing research on the fascial net, and they will tell you that those sensory neurons and receptors do live there. So I think what I'll say here is the trigeminal. Yes. So these neurons detect temperature, thermal, mechanical. We defined mechanical way back. Mechanical is not parts and pieces of a car. Mechanical is like pressure, Truk. And we defined it as push and pull. So they're detecting mechanical and chemical stimuli in the head and the neck region, because this article is talking about those areas. And then these areas are particularly dense in the nerve endings and going through to the spinal cord. And they include in the nasal and oral cavities where smell and taste are thought to be our main chemical senses. So in this particular situation, this is talking about one of our 5 senses that we've discussed: taste, touch, sight, eyes, smell, and ears. We have more, and neuroscientists are discovering there could be 22 to 33 different senses that we have names for, but we don't commonly talk about them. So this particular article talks about these 3 sensory systems in the oral and nasal mucosa are very responsible for detecting capsaicin, the chili pepper, menthol, and some of the spice. Something like wasabi. So you can lose your sense of smell right here. You can lose the sense of smell, but because of this other sense that we have that detects capsaicin and menthol and wasabi, that's protecting us from a chemical irritant that could potentially harm us. If you eat too much capsaicin, there are certain people that can do it, but if your body says, oh, that's not good, but you had no way to detect it, then you would have a problem on the inside. So my question is, all these perception membranes that happen in the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and skin, they have to function, and they have to have a certain integrity. And remember the ITY ending, integrity. We have tensegrity, biotensegrity, integrity, curiosity, and we made up the word hapti. It's a quality, a state, or degree. So if we don't have the right integrity, how does this affect a person's physiology? And how does it affect a person? And we talked about affect. And affect is mood, emotions, most likely interoception. So how does drying out or dehydrating chemical membranes, perception membranes, affect a person? Because if I go to the dentist and my mouth is dry, chances are my microbiome is going to change. I have less saliva and I will get cavities. So what was that chemical sense that's detecting the chili pepper and the menthol and the garlic and the prickly ash or the wasabi? That is chemothesis. Chemothesis. I sure hope that I pronounced that right. And chemothesis is defined as a sensitivity of mucosal surfaces to environmental chemicals. And this is a system that elicits thermal, nociceptive, which means danger, 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 danger. It's like a car alarm, and tactile sensations. Tactile, tactile. That's a buzzword because that's a science English word. Tactile, tactile. What do we say tactile meant? We said tactile means touch. So in the oral cavity, mucosal surfaces respond to compounds commonly found in foods that evoke a sensation and contribute to the overall flavor perception. So I just wanted to put that little bit of tidbit information in there so that you know that we have not only the 5 senses and then the BodySense that Sue Hitzman has named with proprioception and interoception combined. Now we have another one called Chemothesis, and that's pretty cool. And I'm sure chefs know this in spades because that's a good way to make food taste great, especially if you've lost the sense of smell. Oh, look, we're talking about lab safety gear. Yeah. So we start messing with the allostasis of the body and we start running experiments that require safety gear. And so now I can get to this idea of why I have my own safety gear on. It's protective because the pharmaceutical experiment that was being run on my mom, it was being run in February, March, April, and May. It blew up. And she didn't have any protective safety gear. She didn't even know it was happening. Actually, nobody really knew it was happening. It just happened. So, due to unknown reasons, she had multiple falls in the mid part of February, March, April, and May. So she was taken to the emergency room 4 times in a total of 64 days. And the last time was May 1st. So she went to the hospital, went to the emergency room. And actually she went April 30th and they sent her home. And then she fell again. And so then they sent her back to the emergency room. And since she was there for a second time in the emergency room, they said, oh, okay, I guess we're going to keep her overnight. Now, keep in mind, the same people that were working with her in this first part of May were people that were working with her in March when she was there. And she fell and she broke this part of her nose and then this part of her eye socket because she fell. Yeah. So they ran CT scans and kidney function and liver function and sodium levels, which are electrolytes, and potassium levels, which are electrolytes, which are great. And then all this other blood work. And she tested well. There was no issues. There was no like red flags. And then they did x-rays and it showed, oh, she has arthritis of her spine. So therefore, that's why her spine hurts. And okay, all right, well, okay. So she had falls on April 27th. That one, 27th was outside and she hit her head on the concrete because she was going for walks. And then she hit her head again on April 29th. And so the discussions that were being taken at the hospital were about moving her out of her apartment where she feels safe, where she loves, which is something she's familiar with, to an unknown place like a memory unit, which has got a higher level of care. My mom takes her own daily medicines, and remember, there was 3,466.175 milligrams of pills she took every day from a lovely pharmacy that puts all the packages together with lovely people that work at this awesome pharmacy. And she's been working with that pharmacy, and we've been talking to them since my mom moved to that particular area 9 years ago. And my mom's psychiatrist got her on a good routine, and basically that's where it has stayed. So if we take away 3,000 milligrams of calcium and fish oil, then we have 466 medicines here that were part of her experiment. So since 2012, she's been on the same cocktail of medicine, and the mood altering medicines, the venlafaxine, the nifazodone, which is Cerazone, and the Seroquel, Those were set up 9 years ago. And she's been really good mood wise. She's really been very good. So, but my mom missed several doses in April because we found out that the pill packets hadn't been all taken. And then, so then in the hospital, they're saying this is a memory issue. Really? Is it a memory issue? Do you remember me asking you, is it her age or is it something else that's not allowing her to regulate her body? Memory issue. Okay. So, uh, my heart's broken. I mean, a memory issue. I realized that my mom's had some falls, and I realized concussion and what it can do because I've had my share of concussions, and it's not good. So she has fallen before February of 2021, but these more recent falls, this February, March, April, and May, they were different than the times before, because it would just be she would go down. She would be getting dressed and her foot would get caught in her underwear because she didn't sit on the bed in order to put on her underwear, and or her shoulders don't work, so her arms go here, but they don't go up any higher. So she takes off her shirt and she gets it stuck, and then she can't see, and then she gets in a panic because she can't see and she's fallen over. Or she's gone to go pick something up and she bends over and blood pressure changes and down she goes. And she's always pretty much felt dizzy. She knew she was going to fall in the other ones, but these times she had no idea she was going to fall. It just poof, went down, almost like fainting in a way. So when she started talking to me in April about these out of body experiences and complaints of severe constipation, I thought, well, maybe there's some side effects of the COVID vaccine that she had in February. That was her second shot. And then she says, like, uh, she's, what's happening to me? Why am I so tired? And and this should have caused Swedish Terapeut, her daughter, who's in charge of being her advocate, to pay attention. But I dismissed it. I thought, oh, her age, and of course with constipation, and it more or less she grossed me out with some of the things that she was telling me. But I should have paid attention because I did think she was relatively active at 80 years old. She's the only one in her unit that pretty much walks outside and tries to walk outside, and she eats healthy foods. So why the constipation? And oh, it's it'll go by. It'll pass. Okay. So Monday, May 3rd, there's a discovery. Monday, May 3rd, something had changed in my mom's routine. And perhaps the concussion of hitting her head on April 27th and then on the 29th had caused confusion, and that's what she was displaying in the hospital. But I learned that her depression medicine had been altered. So something she'd been on for 9 years had now been changed mid-February, and no one knew. No one told me. And I don't know if my mom knew, but she started missing her medication. She started falling. She started to have constipation. She started to have these out of body experiences. I mean, if I would have known that her medication had changed, maybe my alarm bells would have gone off much sooner. So what happened in mid-February started showing up, and the puzzle pieces started to fall in. We all need a great functioning perception system. So experiments require safety gear. I hope you don't have to go get your own safety gear, because we have one more installment, and let's talk about my mom in that installment. Keep in mind, Our perception system is there. It's involuntary. We can't think our way out of it unless you're a magician or a monk. And I don't know how they do it. Or Wim Hof. And I'm not sure how he does it, but he says it's breathing. So our perception system is protective. It helps stabilize us. It helps support us. So what did happen to my mom's body sense and her organ of perception? We will find out next time. So I'm going to take off my safety gear because I do not need it any longer. Oh, look, my hair got funny. All right. Have a wonderful day. It's been nice chatting with you. And when you have a chance, go and hug somebody that you love. Tell them that you love them. And even if they look at you kind of funny, what's going on, it's okay. Go get your own hugs because it feels good. So take good care. And vi ses igen I Sverige. We'll see you again sometime in Sweden. So thank you for coming here. Hej då!